No. Good afternoon, good people. I apologize first and foremost for my tardiness because I did post that we would be going live at 2 and it is 2:24 and I apologize for that. Uh, good afternoon, everyone. This is Queen Nina, your consciousness coach. For any who may not know or don't quite understand what I do, is take you from where you are in spirit to where you desire to be. And I do that by guiding you in accessing, identifying, recognizing, and releasing, tearing down, and absolutely evicting these limiting beliefs at the subconscious level that have been holding you back from becoming your best self. And so I am here today with our Secret Sunday series. And this Sunday, we are going to be talking about the foundational principles of what a kingdom consciousness really is. And I actually made notes for this one. I don't usually make notes, so I didn't even have them. Give me 1 minute to grab them. Okay. On a side note, for anybody who may be wondering where I am, this is my sacred space. This is my sacred place. This is my meditation and prayer room. This is where I seek. This is where I find. This is where I listen. And this is where I grow. This is my sacred space. So, again, I am Queen Nina, your consciousness coach, and I am here today on our Secret Sunday series for our Secret Sundays. And what I have today are the foundational principles of truly establishing a kingdom consciousness. And the reason why I'm bringing this to you today is because I did post a question asking you to share with me what your interests were, what topics you would be interested in exploring and digging further into and getting some enlightenment and a different view of it and just some deeper exploration of what subjects you were interested in doing that with. And you answered me and you responded, and I thank you for your responses. If you think of anything else, continue to add to that post. But before we go any further and before we embark on tackling those topics and really getting into the meat of them and really getting the answers that we seek, before we move into that, this Secret Sunday series was absolutely vital and necessary, because this is the Secret Sunday where we are going to open up the secrets of what a kingdom consciousness truly is, really getting a grasp on that, and then how to establish that, how to move within that consciousness to tackle the topics that will be coming up, the upcoming topics that you asked for us to get a little bit more insight and a little bit more spiritual knowledge of and understanding and overstanding of. So we're going to tackle right now and jump right into what is a kingdom consciousness. What does it mean to have a kingdom consciousness? Now, as a disclaimer up front, this is going to be a very brief and very simplified explanation, but I have so much more to share that I would be so grateful to share and so willing. So if you're interested in knowing more about the kingdom consciousness concept, the kingdom consciousness process as I have coined it, and what I have created to guide you through getting from where you are in spirit to where you desire to be, please let me know, and I will be happy to share with you more on this topic. But we're going to start and just really get some foundational principles laid so that we can tackle these topics over the next few weeks and really understand what angle we're coming from, where we're coming from, what our intention is, and the only avenue that we're taking here in this group to address these topics. This is the only avenue, this is the only direction that I will ever speak to you from, is from a kingdom consciousness. So I want to lay the foundation of what a kingdom consciousness truly is and how we're going to identify that in our tackling of these upcoming topics, okay? So when I talk about the kingdom, we're going to start right there. What is the kingdom? What really is the kingdom? Let's define that, because immediately, and I want you to understand, this is something that I do with my clients, and you're welcome to message me or PM me, and we can get on a call, a free call. And I offer a 45-minute free call to just kind of do a consciousness check with you and see where you are in your subconscious, and see what you can tear down, or what you need to identify, or what you need to begin to attack to move you past where you are to where you desire to be. And that's a free call. I just wanted to throw that in. So if you're interested in that, you can send me a message. Okay, but we're talking about defining the kingdom. So I want us to understand what is the kingdom. Because, and the reason why I went off on that tangent about the consciousness call is because we oftentimes, I mean, I would really venture to say about 100% of the time, but at least 90% of the time, we have barriers and we have blockages on a subconscious level from religion, from tradition, from ancestral habits and actions, activities that have just been passed down to us, trains of thought, just what we've learned and what we've been taught through the years has erected some boundaries in our subconscious that are not allowing us to move past and move into the deeper, the greater, the promises that are there for us. But we are blocked and bound and hindered by some of the traditional and religious and generational barriers that we don't even often recognize. So I can, that's what I do. I help people to find those, to recognize those and tear those down. But when I talk about the kingdom, some of those barriers might come up. You might be faced with a barrier right there because you've been taught that the kingdom is something that it's not. You've come to just be confused by the kingdom, or you've come to even be kind of maybe resistant to the kingdom, the terminology kingdom. What does it mean? How do I get there? There's so many questions that can start surrounding that. So I want to define what I mean when I speak of kingdom, the kingdom consciousness. I want to define kingdom. Now, I do a lot of in-depth studies. That's why I can bring you the knowledge that I can bring you, and that's why I can guide you with the guidance that I can guide you. I've studied these areas for over 20 years, and I have a wealth of information and knowledge to share. But when I was doing my study for this live today, the definition of kingdom is actually defined in the Greek definition of the word kingdom. And I'm going off of the scripture where Jesus says that his kingdom is not of the world. John 18:36. The kingdom that I'm talking to and the kingdom that I'm referring to is the same kingdom that Jesus was talking about in John 18:36. That kingdom that is not of this world. Again, barriers you may find, barriers you may run into, and barriers you may not recognize. But what you need to understand is when it stops you, when you find that you can't get past it, when you find that you feel resistance, that's a barrier. And instead of stopping because you feel like you're supposed to, now is the time is to tear the barrier down and move forward. That barrier is not there to protect you. That barrier has just been established in your subconscious through misteaching and misunderstanding, and caused actually confusion, and has also caused you to be stuck and stagnant. And now here we are at this place, ready to grow, ordained and commanded to move on. And I am here to help you do that. Move forward and really understand the kingdom and begin to live, operate, move, and execute from that place, the kingdom. So what am I talking about? What is the kingdom? The kingdom is the same kingdom Jesus spoke of in John 18:36. It's the kingdom that's not of this world. Remember, I'm laying this foundation for us to begin to tackle the topics that you brought up. And every one of those topics and every situation and issue of our life has to be handled from a kingdom consciousness, from a kingdom perspective, from the kingdom vantage point, if we are to ever get the fullness of the experience. So when we understand that we are identifying and addressing every topic to come in a way and from a vantage point that is not of this world. I really need you to get that. We've been taught that and we've heard that so often in religion that we've taken it for granted and we've misunderstood it. But what I'm coming at you with, how the way that we're going to tackle these topics is from the kingdom consciousness, from a consciousness, a thought process that is not of this world. So that means it's going to be different than what is expected and taught in the world, in society. It's not from that place. The word kingdom in that context, which Jesus was speaking in John 18:36, the kingdom that's not of this world, the word kingdom there is defined in the Greek. The original Greek definition was royalty, rule, and realm. Royalty, rule, and realm, depending on the context in which it's used, that's what that word kingdom, that's the literal Greek definition. Depending on the context it's used, it's either royalty, rule, or realm. So I am speaking to you from the kingdom, the royalty, the rule, the realm that's not of this world. Not queens and kings in this of the worldly understanding. Not the rule of the world, not the realm of this world. I'm speaking to you. I'm relating to you. We're going to begin to tackle these topics from the kingdom vantage point. The kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, the royalty of God, the royalty of heaven, the rule of God, the rule of heaven, the realm of God, the realm of heaven, the place that's higher, the ultimate authority. This rule, this realm, this royalty supersedes every other. It's the top dog. It has the ultimate authority. That's the kingdom in which I speak. The kingdom in which I speak is invisible, intangible, immeasurable, immovable, and imperishable. So right here, many of you may have recognized a barrier. And I'd like to exhort you and encourage you in as you begin to walk this path of establishing a kingdom consciousness, or even walking with me, humoring me, if you will, as we tackle these upcoming topics, as you just chime in here and there, when you start interacting because you're curious, if you're not already there. Some of you are there and ready to go further. Some of you are curious. Some of you are ready. Some of you are fearful, whatever it is. You have not clicked this page. You have not got to this point without reason, without divine orchestration and purpose and intent. So here you will find struggle mentally. You'll hit some barriers. You'll hit some places that are going to cause you to struggle mentally. You'll find yourself in a tug of war with your thoughts. Your initial thoughts are going to be thoughts of this world. Your initial thoughts are going to be worldly thoughts, even if they're religious. Religion is of this world. Religion is not of the realm of heaven. There's no religion there. Religion is a man-made thing. Now there's truth. There's spirituality, because that is the realm of the spirit. So just be mindful of that. And when you find yourself in those struggles, recognize the worldly thoughts and the kingdom thoughts. And cast out and cast down. Turn away from the worldly thoughts. Sounds simple enough. But it's something you will have to practice, to master, to establish the kingdom consciousness in which I speak. So a little phrase that I coined that may help you with this is that if it doesn't connect, don't accept. If it doesn't connect, if the thought that you are faced with that comes up in opposition to something that you're hearing or whatever, when you're wrestling and having this tug of war in your thoughts, if it doesn't connect to the kingdom, don't accept it. If it does not connect to the kingdom, you don't have to try to fix it and try to force it. If it's not an automatic, it's connected to the kingdom, don't accept it. You have the power and the authority over your thoughts. You have the power to choose what thoughts you accept and what thoughts you reject. The thoughts may come, but what you do with them is what matters. You choose if you're going to ponder it and further it and allow it to sit and fester and stay, or if you're going to cast it out immediately, reject it, and move it out of your mind. You have the power to do that. You choose what you think about. If it doesn't connect to the kingdom, don't accept. Now, your question following that may very well and very easily be, well, what does truly connect to the kingdom? Because remember, we may have very well run into a barrier right there of what the kingdom is. And just because I've explained it to you and given you the definition of the word kingdom, royalty, realm, rule, and realm, you get that, but at the subconscious level, something that's been impacted into that subconscious for years is going to take some transformation. It's going to take some time to shift that. And so that's what I mean by when you hit that struggle, that tug of war in your mind. That's why you have to start practicing rejecting these thoughts. But if you're dealing with that barrier anyway of really understanding kingdom, then how do you know what really connects to the kingdom? I gave you the cute little quote, if it doesn't connect, don't accept. But what really connects to the kingdom? Because we're still not real sure about the kingdom because we have that subconscious barrier there. The easiest way for you to identify kingdom and begin to filter your thoughts by what connects to the kingdom and what doesn't is simply simplify it by saying, is it love? Is it peace? Is it victory? Does it connect to love, peace, and victory? If it doesn't, if you have to wrestle to make it, if you have to really try to squeeze it and fix it, if it doesn't connect easily and perfectly with love, peace, and victory, don't accept. If it doesn't connect to the kingdom, love, if it doesn't connect to love, if it doesn't connect to peace, if it doesn't connect to victory, don't accept it. It has to be all three. Because in essence, that somewhat sums up God. God is love. 1 John tells us, for love is of God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He that loves not knows not God, for God is love. God is love. If it doesn't connect to love for you and everyone involved, don't put yourself to the side to make sure, well, is this love for everybody else? If it's not love across the board, and then, of course, you might have to research and dig into what is love, because we have some barriers and some misconceptions there too. But on the whole, overall, if it doesn't connect to love, to peace, and to victory, don't accept. That's what the kingdom is. That's the kingdom that I'm referring to. And that's what you have to make sure that you begin to transform and to shift and to filter your thoughts through that lens, and understand that that's the way that I will be coming. That's the path that we'll be taking when we tackle these topics to come from a kingdom perspective, not of this world. Remember that, because you may very well find some frustration with the way that these topics are presented, or what starts happening as we start unpacking it and as we start addressing it and attacking it from a kingdom perspective. You might find some frustration. You might hit some more barriers, because that's the route I'm going to be coming it from, what connects to love, peace, and victory. Kingdom. What is consciousness? This is a love, peace, and victorious consciousness What is consciousness? The Webster definition of the word consciousness is a state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. Think of that. A kingdom consciousness means you're awake to the kingdom and you're aware of the kingdom around you, ruling, reigning. You're royalty there. You are there. You are in the kingdom. As the Bible tells us, we're in the world, but not of it. Because we're in the kingdom. We're of the kingdom. Or at least we're trying to be. Let me help you get there. It's a beautiful place and it is accessible right here on earth, and it's the truth. The Bible tells us that the kingdom of heaven is within you. The other definition of consciousness is the awareness or perception of something by a person. How aware are you of your kingdom citizenship? Being aware, our consciousness, this kingdom consciousness that I'm talking about, is being awake to the royalty and the realm of the kingdom, and being aware of the fact that of where we are, that we're not in this world, that we're not under the rule and realm of this world. Being aware and awake to that. Or as the second definition says, the awareness or perception of something by a person. Now you're handling, you're executing, you're operating, you're moving from a kingdom perception. The way you perceive things, this is vital for the upcoming topics. We have to be awake to a kingdom perception. We don't perceive as the world. It's not of the world, it's of the kingdom. And the third definition of consciousness is the fact of awareness by the mind of itself and the world. So you have to be aware. You have to make your mind aware of itself. What are you thinking? That's where the kingdom begins. That's where the kingdom is unleashed, is opened up. That's how you access it. It's in your mind. It's in your thoughts. It's in what you allow yourself to think. Change your thoughts, change your life. As a man so thinketh, so is he. It's spiritual, it's scriptural, it's spiritual, it's truth. Now remember one last thing, we're almost finished. I have one last thing in regards to the topics that we'll be tackling here to come, and in regards to those issues and situations that you brought up that were of concern to you, that were maybe even of a burden to you, and just how we're getting ready to attack this thing. As I've mentioned, it's going to be from a kingdom consciousness. There's no other way. I don't operate, I don't speak, I don't identify with anything else. So everything that I bring you is going to be from the kingdom. Kingdom consciousness, kingdom perception, kingdom truth. But I want you to understand that as you embark upon that path, or as you move further down that path, you will transition and go deeper into the kingdom, and you will have that kingdom experience, and the kingdom of heaven will be alive and growing and expanding within you. But there are others around you, and there are others that we interact with that are not of the kingdom, that are of this world. So I want you to be mindful of that. This is your path. This is your journey. This is your consciousness. This is your perception. But this is where you and where we live, operate, move, and execute. And this is the angle that we will be addressing and digging into those topics. That's how we're going to tackle the topics, from a kingdom mindset, a kingdom perception, a kingdom consciousness. And that's how you get there. I want you to remember the struggle, the mental struggle will come. The tug of war is inevitable. But if it doesn't connect, don't accept. If it doesn't connect to the kingdom, love, peace, and victory, to start to simplify it. To just help to start the filtering process in your thoughts and help to begin that shift. That's a good start. If it doesn't connect to love, peace, and victory, don't accept. You're on, that's a process. That's the beginning. That's the first step to shifting that mindset, to tapping in to the deeper places and transforming your mind. Change your thoughts, change your lives. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Let it start there. If it doesn't connect, don't accept. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. I pray that you were blessed. I pray that you think on it, that you ponder on it, that you practice it, and that you be prepared with this understanding when we begin to tackle these upcoming topics, because it's going to be a different presentation, I'm sure. It's going to be a different take on it, to say the least, on all of these topics. And these were some good topics. These were some valid, meaty issues. But there's a perception in which we're going to be addressing it that I'm sure may be different than what you've heard before, because it's not of this world. This is kingdom consciousness. Hope to see you next week. Thank you for joining. Peace, love, and blessings.